Superman is an eternal favorite of the DC universe.
Not impressed.
Anyway, I think it's best to just ignore the controversies around the Man of Steel's cinematic future. I mean, he's freaking Superman, for crying out loud. The one and only son of Krypton. Now, we're all aware of Zack Snyder's Justice League and came across a few interesting scenes. So I've decided to give you something new today by presenting the most savage Superman scenes in the movies.
Where is the Codex? You think you can threaten my mother?
It goes without saying that Batman isn't the only mama's boy in the DCEU, although I'll admit that he's probably the most dramatic one. Case in point, Clark Kent, who loves his mom more than anything else, even though they're not from the same planet. For Kent, unfortunately, General Zod didn't get the memo, so he threatens Supermom in order to retrieve the location of the Codex. It doesn't take long for the Man of Steel to swoop in with all his might and give a battle, but this was a tonal shift towards savage mode, and I gotta say, the dude did look pretty scary. After rewatching this scene, I think it's safe to declare that angry Superman is much more dangerous than Homelander, or basically any other copycat.
My suit, son. It's only stuff, Clark. It can always be replaced.
But you can't be.
It is that evolution always wins.
These villains really haven't learned anything from years and years of superhero movies, have they? Faora Ul tries to mess around with Kal-El by giving him a taste of her powers in the middle of an epic battle.
You are weak, son of El. Unsure of yourself.
I mean, what is this? Some kind of hippie class on how to rebel? Anyway, the Man of Steel goes on to receive a brief thrashing, but then he reveals that it's only because he doesn't like to fight women. No, I'm not trying to trigger any jobless snowflakes out there. I'm just simply spitting facts right now. Superman further proves my point by finally letting go and totally dominating Faora as if she's puts up an awesome fight and even gets one over his Kryptonian enemies by blasting them away with his laser eyes. Oh yeah, and for good measure, he also saves one of the army dudes who gets caught in the middle of the crossfire. See, now this is how you portray a hero. The She-Hulk writers should have really watched this movie before introducing Daredevil like that.
Stop! If you destroy this ship, you destroy Krypton! Krypton had its chance!
There's just something about a good guy gone bad that makes him even more intimidating than the most brutal villains on screen. The best possible example here is evil Superman. And no, I'm not talking about that weirdo in Superman 3. I'm talking about Henry Cavill going over to the dark side. You get that? Because now he's with Darkseid? Oh, forget it, never mind. His recent antics have brought the world to an apocalypse, and the only surviving members of the Justice League aren't really much of a match against the evil Man of Steel. Batman sure knows that, because he pisses his pants after seeing the overpowered alien making his entrance with those ominous laser eyes. I mean, just look at his face. Dude went from Dark Knight to Light Fright. Not so tough now, are you, Bruce? Anyone can bully Jared Leto's Joker, especially after the whole Morbius fiasco. The most savage moment here is obviously when Kal-El shows himself, and I think it was great to just focus on his face rather than have him speak endless lines of dialogue. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that would probably even scare The Witcher.
It's all right.
Never.
We've all made fun of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man for cracking Gwen Stacy's back, especially after that meme with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, that's good. Ah, this is so cool. I always wanted brothers.
However, he's not the only one who's an expert at cracking stuff. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even the first Superman to do it. Yeah, that's right, the OG cracker snapper is the one and only Clark Kent. After pretty much defeating Zod, Superman is ready to apprehend the villain, but apparently Kryptonian generals are sore losers. So he uses his laser eyes to attack some innocent bystanders. Kal-El does his best to stop his enemy, but Zod's like, "You'll never take me alive." Unfortunately for him, Superman takes this a bit too literally and snaps Zod's neck harder than Thanos snapped his fingers. The entire build-up to this defining moment was filled with suspense and killing someone, which totally goes against the unspoken rules of being a hero. But let's wait a second. Couldn't he have just flown Zod to the sky? Maybe he really just wanted an excuse to get rid of that grumpy general. Say what you will about Batman's skepticism, the dude was right about evil Superman. The first signs of the nightmare are shown in Batman vs Superman, where Bruce Wayne carries out a secret infiltration mission. He does well at first, but is caught and apprehended by the enemy soldiers along with some other prisoners. Normally, you'd think that's bad, but the worst is yet to come, because Superman makes a grand entrance soon after. The goons bow down to him in total submission, and it was kinda cool to see the Man of Steel getting treated with respect, even though his subjects are evil killers. To make matters worse for Batman, Kal-El savagely rips through the other prisoners without even blinking his eyes because, well, he's got to keep them open for the lasers to flow. Clark goes ahead to take off Batman's mask, and then he looks Bruce in the eye to remind him,
She was my world, and you took her from me.
I gotta say, I kinda jumped out of my seat when Superman shoved his hands inside Batman's chest, but luckily, the sleep he's never gonna see thanks to the geniuses at Warner Brothers Discovery.
She's the key! You have to find us!
Remember that brutal episode of Invincible where Omni-Man kills the fake Justice League? Well, that kind of happens in Zack Snyder's 2021 re-release as well, just without all the gory details. In the process of reviving Superman, Cyborg witnesses a very troubling vision where he sees Darkseid getting hold of the Man of Steel after he loses his beloved Lois Lane. Now, we aren't really shown anything explicitly, but it's heavily hinted that Superman goes on to kill the Justice League, as can be seen by the bodies of Wonder Woman and, of course, the severed head. Not only is this a very frightening and troubling concept, it's also pretty messed up to imagine a world where the most powerful superhero is actually your main enemy. And just think about it. If a goddess like Wonder Woman and a sea prince like Aquaman couldn't do anything to the Man of Steel, what hope Superman back to life? And I think we all know the savage thrashing that follows after his And there you go. Those are the most savage Superman scenes in the movies. Did you like this new format? Let me know in the comments and head over to the description.